Alrighty, so welcome to another Yap session. Two in one day. Crazy, I know. I'm sorry. I just like talking that much. But anyway, I kind of want to go through Corrode and get everyone up to speed to it because it's coming up soon. It's a new map. No one knows what the heck is going on, etc., etc. So I just want to kind of get you all up to speed. Once again, I've got my silly little thing. You probably don't want to look at this too closely. But if it does interest you and you want to have a look at it, go for it. Once again, it is defender oriented, so you want to make sure that what you're actually looking at here is you're thinking about it in the defender's perspective. I always go through and whenever I plan out a map, I think about how would I ideally set up my defense and how does that enable. Okay, and then I look at that and I say, okay, how does that enable my attack? Um, and then yeah, I've also had a look at a couple of games from today, so I'm not spouting total crap and just saying, we're doing this because we're doing this. I watched through EG versus what was it? What was the other team? 100 Thieves. That game was pretty fun. They had like a double recon and whatnot. And then there was another game that I watched. I think it was Sen versus Cloud9, which had a bit more of the standard stuff that I thought it would be going on, and that was kind of cool too. But anyway, this one is more normal, so I'll quickly go into that. Um, you can see once again, lots of good spaces for us to walk down and hold angles and get inserts, especially in mid, especially in B, and you do want to be looking to do that when you can. It's always good to get down and get some control because often the defenders are going to be looking towards, I guess, mid and A for control, because you can see that's where most of the transitional space is, and the important spaces for attackers to try and get. So they're usually going to be flipping between mid and A, looking for control there. Um, and then they might get bored, come back to B, and then all of a sudden you've got like a chamber here or something, you get a free call. But yeah, I saw that a lot today in both of those games where they'd walk someone up to B. For us, that might be our Yori player every once in a while, or even our Rays. All right. Um, Other things is I want you guys to observe here how long and like small these chokes are. And the problem with that is that one, it's very easy to get stalled. Two, very easy to get spammed. So yeah, that's another feature of the map. Um, However, it is quite easy to get close to your exec spaces most of the time, towards B and A. So yeah, these spaces usually going to be pretty easy for you to get most of the time. When people play against us, the variant I'm going to have is A is actually not going to be easy to get all the time, because we have a Yori, we can threaten multiple things and make it look like we're doing something when we're not, and force the enemy into a mistake, go through a smoke and, die. But anyway, I'll get more onto that later. There's some rules here on basic macro. Things like, if defenders have heavy control A, you need to threaten middle, and that's from like an attack's perspective. It's very simple, but very simple rules often are what win you the game. You don't really want to fight into where the enemy are most of the time. You want to be like water and flow to where they aren't. Unless they're doing like a really bad fight, you think you can abuse it. Um, what's some other important ones? There's stuff about floods. I'll more get onto that later, but do go through and read this in your own time if you can. It's just some simple logic that I think is good to understand. But I will run through this. Corrode attack relies on generating an understanding of which choke may be weak and looking to abuse it. Then, effectively utilizing the transitional space, which are these yellow areas, to find information and figure out what sites are weak. Rotates will rarely occur through CT for defenders. Keep that in mind. So what that's referring to is if you have control of transitional space, which usually means you have either mid or you have A, it's very hard for defender rotates to one, not be heard. And two, if they're going through CT, this is probably like the longest rotate in all of Valorant. I think it's worse than like Pearl. So yeah, defenders pretty much will never rotate through CT, I reckon. The only exception is if they have like a Yoru or something like that can get across the map very quickly, then you might be in a bit more trouble. And that might be another reason why we're playing Yoru. Hint, hint, hint. Okay. Next thing. Blah blah blah. When you go for an into an exec, you need to stop or disrupt flood from mid. This can be done through insert or util crossfire holding. Okay. So, what that's basically saying is if you end up with this funny space in middle here, or you end up with like, I don't know, a yard, and you're splitting A, and you get control of A site, you don't want to stop paying attention to this, because it's likely that most of the defenders are rotating through mid, or that they were already in mid if you've only taken control of yard, and they will be on this ASAP. So yeah, you're not really going to have too much pressure from C2 usually, because this rotate takes like 3 years. I didn't really count how many rotates I saw through CT. I think I saw like 1, and I very frequently saw like, I guess, pros would bring their post plant all the way up here and look to control this space and figure out what is going on and like spawn and look to fight there first if they can, so they don't just get like crunched on site. Alright, what else was there? Let me see. Birds can be done through insert, util, holding. So yeah, the other thing is if you have like a Viper Molly or util here, in a space like this is good in front of this smoke, where this smoke will be. Firestorms are also good, and like same thing here. Imagine like it's kind of similar to Haven, where you want to stop them from being in these flood spaces, and you want to use util to do that. And I hope we'll also be doing that on Haven as well, but we're not talking about Haven right now. Alright, so Corrode's defense relies on utility attrition and choke holding between A and mid, and having the ability to quickly flood A and B. If you deny them all transitional space, it's very hard for them to find advantages in the round. If you lose your choke points, it's usually hard to convert. However, you can look to stack sites and have a weaker hold in mid. That's your next best chance. So yeah, if you get to a point where, well, first of all, it's going to be extremely hard for attackers to come through here and here and have a lot of success early. I'd hope at least. You're usually going to have something like a Viper Orb here. You're going to have like 3 people pushing mid most of the time. Other times, especially on B as well, you're going to have like a Viper Orb here. So yeah, it's not going to happen very often for us. We're going to have like our Viper Wall going across like, I think this most of the time. And what that's going to allow us to do is threaten both here and here at the same time, while also having like a fade eye coming here. That way we get information, and we can choose where we want to focus and pivot to and fight more. Alright. Let me hop out of this again. Boop, boop. Okay. So that's kind of all the macro side of things in general. I think the next couple of tabs I have go into it a little bit more. Yeah. So Corrode's a bit of a funny map. I think when we all played it first, we were hella lost. I think now we're a bit better, but let me just go through it. So Corrode has a complex layout. Compared to a lot of the other maps, the way that Corrode plays out is much more complex and harder to understand. There are a lot of more spaces to rat, and a lot more spaces that need to be cleared. So let's go into A site now. A site has a main, yard, elbow, and link that connects to mid. And yes, that's a lot to get your head around. It also has a triple crossfire on a narrow, lengthy choke point in A main, making it one of the most difficult sites to hit dry without smokes. Once yard has been passed, the site plays out a lot like Sunset A site. So if you have a look at Sunset A site, you've got main. Usually there's like a one way here to dissuade you from going in, and then you go from like elbow, and then one person late lurks. It's going to be a very similar sort of process to that once you get past yard. Once again, you have an elbow, a lot of the time you get like smoked off here and you get stalled here, and then there's like a crossfire that could potentially like cause you problems. And then one person's either like going late main or one person's going through like here, so that's something you need to be aware of. Making sure that you don't like drop this space completely as well on your execution, because all of a sudden, if you don't have anyone in main or don't have anyone like in yard keeping tabs on this wall or whatever you have going on, you've got someone walking around behind you and you've got a crossfire here and you're in a really, really bad spot. So be aware of that. Next thing. To make things even more annoying, mid has 3 different chokes and 3 different stages, which control different transitional spaces. Control of mid is highly important. Whoever has control will have a massive rotation advantage and will be able to flood the site quicker. Mid on Corrode is actually somewhat similar to A entrance on Lotus, as such is given a lot of attention from both the attack and defense. It is predominantly defender sided. And yep, that's all true. If you look at Lotus here, count how many boxes we have. I've got 1, 2, 3. These are all different transitional spaces that go into different spots. And if you look at Corrode's mid, you've got a very kind of like dense thing going on. It's a bit more spread out. It's a bit more sequential than how fast it can be on Lotus to get control of those spaces. But definitely over the time, if you progressively lose control of mid, it's just not going to go well for you. Alright, next thing. B-side on Corrode, I see to be a mix of bind B-side and Haven, having an undercover area which can be difficult to clear. So that's Tube and Hut. So this thingy and also this thingy here. I call this Hut. I don't know if that's the correct name for it. I'll figure that out eventually. Meanwhile, there's also an elbow, also like bind, and we know on bind we love taking elbow because all of a sudden it's very hard for the attackers to get back in. It's a similar story on Corrode, where if you get elbow, the defenders that do come through CT, and also if you get heaven, have to deal with like a crossfire here, and it's screwed. It also just means there's more space where you can play around, and the utility from the enemy team has to be more spread out, so you're just not going to get util dumped on site. The entrance to yard is long and narrow like Ascend, turn like Bind and Haven, and it's single entrance. All this accumulates in the site being very hard to clear. Yep, I would agree with that one. So yeah, very narrow entrance, hard to get in. There's a lot of angles looking at you. You need to have a good read on what's going on the map. If you think that everyone's fighting mid and everyone's fighting A, whatnot, and there's only a Viper or a Visor B, especially with our comp, we'll be able to abuse that and actually look to fight into this a fair bit. We could also get like our raise up into heaven along with our omen and have a good time. Next thing, let me see. Have I cleared that all up? I think I have. Yippee! Alright. Okay, A-side. A-side is a bit of an anomaly, because we have a funny smoke here. Can you tell me if this is attacker-sided or defender-sided? I'll give you a sec. I might even like put a thinking song in here for a moment. Like bum 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 bum. Okay, I'm done now. So I lied to you, it's actually both, it's just situational. So if you look at this smoke, you can see that first of all, one, it allows the attackers to get an elbow and go this way. But second of all, it allows the defenders from mid to come this way and go up here. So yeah. Also, if you do have like mid control as well, I forgot to mention this as well. But if you do have mid control, you can come up here, put like a little smoke here, and if there's like only one person playing elbow, you can walk around like this, kill the person, or you can go CP. Anyway, just something I thought I'd bring up quickly. But yep, know that when you throw this smoke on your attack side and you don't have mid control, some bad things can happen to you. You can get spammed through here. Very, very common. You do spend a lot of time kind of like clearing this out. You might even like dog from this point or whatever, so do be careful of that. That is a very real threat. Next thing is over here on the defense side. Of course, it can help you get through and back onto here. And that's where you have like that elbow hold that's similar to Sunset. So as the attack side, and I'll go into now, there's like a whole bunch of ways you can hit a site. But I think when you do go in the end for your A hit, if you can block this off and you can put like a molly here and a smoke here and pinch the site, I think that's a lot better. And I don't know, you just find more success with it, I think. If they do have this Viper wall up though, it might be a fair bit harder. So yeah, that's just one for our Omen player. If you have players that are like in mid and they want to get across onto A site, you need to be ready to throw this smoke. You might think it's troll, oh, that's usually a smoker throws an attacker, but no, we want to get in here and we want to stop this elbow push from coming through. And we definitely don't want like any player on site getting pinched. Alright. Alright, so that kind of like goes into a bunch of different executes now on A. So as you'll see, pretty common wording here about things, but all you really need to know is that it is possible to go to site and execute like this. It won't work all the time against the smart teams once they start to figure out what you're doing. And if you do this, you definitely need to push up into CT and you definitely need to like stall this with like a molly or something and make sure you can get bombed down here or down here. Next thing is A split is very possible, and I think it's one of the stronger ways to execute the site. That way you actually do get to pinch onto the site. There's less chance of getting stalled here. And yeah, you can throw like mollies and util here to stop the players from coming out. And yeah, you have this smoke to help you as well. Pretty cool sometimes, depending on what you're doing, especially if you're just planning on going for an A split. Not really mid rounding. And then you've got the mid split, which involves getting like bottom mid control. This is a wall that Sen and a couple of other teams have been throwing, which I think is really good. It basically allows you to progressively work mid. I'll get onto that later though. And yeah, you come up, you take this space. And what's really good about this is you're not really worried about people coming out of mid like this anymore. It's going to take them a fair amount of time to do that and catch up to you. You can even like nade or molly this off as you're going through. And then it's basically an A split once you get to here. It's just that you don't have like, you're not scared of being delayed here as much. Simply because you have, or delayed here as much, I mean. Simply because you had all this control, and you might even still have someone like inserted in mid, because most of the time defenders will look to come back this way, because we know that that way in spawn is just so damn long, and we're all really lazy. Like, we don't want to go that way. Alright, and finally, is it finally? I think so. Hold on. Let me escape. I think that was the final one. Yep. Alright, now going into a B-side hit. Most of the time, your B-side hits really are going to look something like this. You are going to like scale someone up and try and stop them from coming out of mid as well. If the enemy team is smart, they're not going to allow you to do that very much. And also, you're going to try and take elbow. If the enemy team is smart, they're going to hold onto like their Viper Molly and put it here and not really allow you to do that very much. Or also have thorns in the spot like this. So just beware, the enemy team, when they're clever, are going to be fighting very hard to maintain control of this space. If they lose that, it's basically a round over from there. It's so hard to get through such a small choke where you can be spammed, where you can be like, I don't know, double crossfire on heaven or, you know, awful. So, yep, that's basically your regular B hit. And then your second one is like a B mid split. Now, I have seen some teams do this fast and be successful. However, it's very rare. It's usually more of, okay, we're going to progressively take bottom mid. We got bottom mid, and we've also still got like our B main. Very cool, very cool. There's also no one on A main over there. So maybe we can think about taking mid stage 2 and get someone up here. Or this might be your first stage where you go, okay, we want to take this early and fight hard for this control. And then once this smoke drops, you put up this Viper smoke, you put another smoke here, you get into this corner, and then you have a player ready on B main, and then you're hitting B. That's the plan. Anyway. And yeah, another thing to be wary of is while you're in this space as well, it can be quite worth spamming this. Because if you place this smoke correctly, it kind of threatens this type of transitional space thing. So you can like spam through here, because there's likely going to be someone in this smoke defending it. And yeah, that's kind of it for a B split, I think. Just know that that's going to be hard to do quickly. Very hard to do quickly. Get me out. Sorry, I'm very good with this pen tool. All right. What do we have next? We got strong agents. Here we go. Okay. So, going through Viper. Viper very good. Viper played by a lot of pro teams. Viper love. Viper life. Okay. So no, we've got basically your basic R setup here. This is like the bronze setup that I've been throwing every game. Whole idea is that you can attack into here and attack into here and get control of that space, and then you either drop wall or orb, and then you're going that way you're, you know, you have a good look. You can do that as a team, or you can use this as like a lurk tool. Doesn't really matter, and then you're like pushing up through elbow or whatever and going to like a split, anything like that. This one in mid, it has 2 jobs, or 3 actually. It blocks off this, it blocks off mid. However, you have to be aware that that's possible, and it also blocks off this. So it's just really using that concept that you're progressively scaling mid, and then potentially B split later in the round. Next one, I think, is defense orb and stuff. Get me out. All right, we've got 3 setups, all of them pretty basic and easy to understand except one. So know that color coded, so these 2 are together. The only one that's not easy to understand, everyone else you can kind of like look at and be like, yeah, that looks pretty normal to me, is this one. Because what's going on here is that you have a flood smoke. You also have 2 pockets to play in. I guess with the green one as well, you have 2 pockets to play in potentially. So just be aware of those, and maybe if nothing's working for us, we can try a play like that. They are kind of like high risk, high reward. All right, what's the next thing? Yaru. Yaru's a funny guy. Very good on this map because if our mid gets disrupted, we can TP back to the other side of the map and still help out our solo player on B or our solo player on A. So very good. Other thing is on attack, you can threaten to fight a space, which is also very good with like a clone and Yoru, and then TP somewhere else, and then beat the enemy team on tempo. And essentially what that means is, oh, we hear a whole lot of people in this space. That means we need to move people to this space. Hey team, come here. And then what you do, being a smart team, is like, oh, we've made noise here. What if we just go A now? Or what if we just go B now? They just wouldn't be ready, would have numbers in that space. And very simple. All right, next agent. Vise, you know, Vise is like pretty simple agent to understand. On her attack side though, her thorns are really good for like denying you flooding. You can't really push through this, especially if they combine it with like a Viper Molly. Yeah, it's really gonna deny you that flood. So it's something you've got to be quite careful of. Something that hopefully with a Yori we probably won't have too many problem with. So all good. So yeah, just make sure that we're ready to shoot those thorns, I guess, or that we're in front of them already. Next thing is on her defense. These are, my opinion, her best setups. You've got wall, standard, you know, basic Vise things. But her molly is like this, forcing you to go through elbow only, not allowing you to go back through mid, anything like that. Denying you coming out of elbow, also very good. Wall and flash here in main, also very good. Next thing is like these mollies in this space make it so difficult to get a firm grip on the site. You've got to like, how I put it? You've got to get around here really quickly, or you've got to get someone up top here. Otherwise, the enemy is just going to flood onto back site and they're going to split you like this, and you're not going to get stable, and it's going to be a bad time. All right. Next thing, what do we got? Chamber! Chamber, my big rich Frenchman. Okay. Chamber, good for 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons, and that's really all you need to know about Chamber. If we're smart and we default well, then hopefully none of these things are a problem. But yeah, these are Chamber's best setups, and he has literally somewhere he can be on every lane. So Chamber good. Yeah? Be scared of Chamber. Don't dry pick things if Chamber's still alive. I beg of thee. Alright. And Neon. Neon is the best agent for taking fast control of mid. There's a reason why Sen play her. There's a reason why a lot of teams play her. It's because they can get up here and be in your face very quickly. And they can be threatening a B split continually, like 40, 30 seconds into the round, even less. That's pretty much it with her. She's also got some really good walls that can like go across site like this and allow the team very easy entry onto site. But you know what a wall gives, it takes away, and it actually does allow this flood space too. So I think that's really it. I've gone through pretty much everything. This will be in the description of the video. I will go into like actual comp stuff soon, but this is like the baseline understanding and everything you need to know about Corrode. You'll see that I haven't actually done anything for attack and defense yet, but if I go to like here, here, you know, I wrote some notes, but I did actually go through and watch those games. All right, well, thanks guys, I will catch you soon. Bye bye.